They're all saving one, or most of the Hampshire fielders are saving one. Somerset need one run. It's Edwards to Hildreth. He's there and bowls Hildreth, and he gets the run away through the onside, and Somerset have won. They've won the Royal London One Day Cup.
Good evening, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd. Joining me as always, I've got Steve Tancock, Dan Kingdom, and the voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, Anthony Gibson, who has confirmed to us after jetting back from the county ground to Langport that he is bloody knackered after doing a full uninterrupted stint on the radio as well today. So, yeah, lost to Surrey today by 3 wickets in the county championship. For my money, that game was not lost on the batting performance on the first innings, but there were a few iffy shots in there and non-shots, and then a few iffy bits of cricket throughout the game that were really unforced errors. And I suppose in a way we've contributed to our own downfall again, given how close we took it in that final evening and another 40-50 runs. Who knows where that game would have ended up? Jamie Overton, of course, being there at the end, as was written in the stars. I think all three of us, apart from Steve, were there for some bits of the game. So we'll start with you then, Steve. How did you see things from afar?
I felt, and I said it on the blog, that I thought we were given a lesson in how to play championship cricket over the first couple of days. I don't think we can use the excuse of the Josh Davey, Craig Overton absence as being anything that we can hang a hat on. I thought we batted again brainlessly on the first day, and on the third day, every time we seemed to be getting, and I thought it, and then Anthony said it when he came back on commentary yesterday, just when you sort of thought, oh, there might be a bit of hope here. Maybe Lewis Goldsworthy's going to bat long. Maybe this is going to happen. Then, Banton gets abled down the leg side, and then Tom runs himself out, which, is a complete brain, what. And to me, a lot of it is, I just think they are mentally scrambled, and that dressing room is scrambled. And, they batted like they had to bat in a timeless test on the first day. There was supine, I think would be the word Anthony would probably lose. And then they came out the second innings to be more proactive, but maybe a little too proactive at times. It's all very well to run aggressively, but running two in that situation, and Tom Banton shaped up well, gets himself out. Tom Abel's going well, and you think, he's going to get another 100 against Surrey, runs himself out. Steve Davis makes his now contractually obliged pretty 20 and gets out. Lewis Goldsworthy got, I'm the big chairman of the Lewis Goldsworthy fan club, and I thought he did really well. That was a tough 60 odd he made. That would be worth a lot more elsewhere.
Well, gutted out first innings as well. After a few little scares against Jimmy.
The first innings he was almost shotless. The second innings he was, bad balls were getting dispatched, and that to me was the difference. I can't say anything positive about Marchant. Yet again, he's come in and not really on a pitch that Jamie Overton made look like Old Trafford against Close and Edrich in 1976. He made it look like a featherbed again. And in fairness, I still don't think Lewis Gregory's bowling fit. So, it was left to Siddle and Casey Aldridge, and wow, they performed magnificently. So, we're in a relegation fight. We've got to deal with it. But then on the other hand, I see on social media tonight, give Casey Aldridge the keys to the town. He's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, number one, if you've been watching the seconds or reading Mike's seconds watch on the blog, you'll know that he's had a pretty good season. But that's been mainly with the bat. But we all know we think he's going to be a bowler of the bats. And today, fair play to the guy. He looked the part of the guy who was a big component of the England under-19s a couple of seasons ago. So there's hope there. But I think the last point, Ian, is I think the problem is, if Lewis Goldsworthy was batting at 5, and he had Hildreth at 4 and Davis at 6, and both of those were playing to their career levels, Lewis Goldsworthy would have time to play himself in and work his way into the side without a huge amount of pressure. He now finds himself coming in at 5 in crisis situations with, Jamie Overton pawing the ground and smelling blood, and that's really hard for him to make his way. And we've got too many of these youngsters, as Anthony and Mark Church were saying on comms, looking at the number of first-class games these kids have played, it's really, really tough. And then it puts pressure on the more experienced players as well. So it's just, if I can use the phrase, it's a complete bugger's muddle as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't, to me, reflect terribly well on the structure within the club and the coaching strategy. And the last thing I'll say, if anyone tells me that they've taken any learnings from this game, I'm going to walk down to Taunton and throw them off the floodlight, because we've had learnings from every single game and we haven't learned the damn learnings, and I'm pig sick of it.
Well, the club haven't posted your post-match on social media yet, Anthony. So, can you give us an exclusive? Who did you summon up before the beak?
Lewis Gregory, because I wanted to take. I think there were more pluses than negatives from this performance, so I wanted to have a relatively positive interview. And Lewis, he got brilliant century it was, and took an absolutely outstanding catch at slip as well, and bowled pretty well. So I did Lewis, and he was very disappointing, very disappointed, as you would expect. But for myself, I took more encouragement than dismay from that performance. The first innings batting performance, I agree with Steve, was typical of recent first innings batting performances against the better attacks. As somebody said on Twitter, we only seem to be able to score big first innings runs against the lesser bowling attacks. But I think I talked to Lachlan Stevens after the first day, and he was really quite critical of his batsman's performance. He didn't say supine, he did use the word timid. And I thought that was about right. They weren't prepared to take the Surrey bowlers on. They allowed the bowlers to dictate terms. And that changed in the second innings, I think because Lachlan told them to go out and play their natural games. So, which led to Tom Lammonby, who can't play the hook to save his life, the pull to save his life, getting a top edge, and to Ben Green going after a ball that miles outside the off stump.
No, that was first innings though. He got a really good nut in second innings.
He did, yeah. But it also meant that Lewis Goldsworthy was much more positive in the second innings than he had been in the first innings. Tom Banton looked a much better player in the second innings. It was a careless flick down the leg side that got him out. Tom Abel, he reckons he's the quickest just about in the country, and he didn't beat the throw, but he was looking in good nick as well. And it's good to see Lewis Gregory back in form. So, and Casey Aldridge to me today was a revelation. I've been saying about Casey Aldridge is he looks good. He's got a nice action. He's tall chap, hits the pitch hard, but he doesn't have a USP, something that sort of sets him apart from other medium fast bowlers. But he bowled a really good length today, and he was getting the ball to dart about, and I was very, very impressed with him. And I think if he can graft some that sort of bowling skill onto his undoubted batting talents, which have been revealed for the seconds and so on, then I think he'll be a real force to be reckoned with in the future. So, yeah, it was disappointing. A disappointing outcome. We lost it in the first innings by only scoring 180. But overall, as I said, I think there are more pluses than minuses.
Yeah, just going back to that first innings, I rewatched a bit of it because your memory can play tricks on you a little bit, Dan. And we were both up there Sunday. I was sat up on the Thatcher's deck, which I think is my new favourite place to watch from. You get a nice chair that someone's left out for you, and a brilliant view. And from memory, I remember everybody playing and missing virtually every other ball when I was up there, because I was stood next to a chap and we both had our heads in our hands. It was mainly Banton who was sort of playing and missing. So I rewatched it on the live stream. And just sort of flick quick ball. And what they seemed to be doing first innings, they were leaving really well on sort of the fourth or fifth stump line, and then it went out another sort of 3 or 4 stumps or so to where you're looking at really wide long hop territory, that's where they were having a big yahoo outside the off stump. That's the type of ball that Abel got out. He was leaving really well, really disciplined, and then that one, Jamie Overton dropped that one really short, really wide, probably the worst ball he bowled in the entire game, probably the worst ball he's bowled the entire season. And I think because they not necessarily got themselves bogged down, but their eyes just lit up and they went, oh, thank you very much, bing, and that's what happened to Aves. But we were sat side on down watching Jamie Overton bowl in the afternoon, and he was pretty quick.
Yeah, he was unbelievable, wasn't he? I mean, it was just classic, the first time that Jamie bowls to Craig, second ball, Craig has to retire out. Just sort of adds to the narrative, doesn't it? And then Josh Davey not long later as well. Jamie was, at his best, wasn't he, that day? And we didn't really have too many answers to him. And we didn't have answers to any of the attack, really. I think we're struggling to find that balance, aren't we, between attack and defence? Some days we're sort of okay. We're like day one, we were trying to dig in and it didn't work. And the second innings, obviously, we would try to be more attacking, and it kind of did work a bit better, by the sounds of it. So we've just got to be able to adapt better to the match situation in future. We've got to find that balance, because it's clearly not a natural. Reining themselves in is not natural for most of the guys in our lineup, and they've got to learn it. And there are signs, aren't there? The second innings we can take a lot of encouragement from. For sure, I haven't really seen much of the remaining days after day one. But from what I gather from the second innings, there were some good signs. So we've got to just take that forward and produce a proper 4-day performance in the next match. The last 2 days we've gone toe to toe with a really good side and played really well the last couple of days. So we've got to just translate that into a 4-day performance next time, which is Lancashire at Southport, I think, which is an extremely difficult match to come up to that next up. But we've got to be at our best that game. We've just got to translate what we did in the last couple of days into that match. I don't want to say take the learnings, but
lessons.
Lessons is a perfectly good word.
We've got to, exactly. We've got to remember how we played and do it all again, but for longer next time, basically.
I mean, something that struck me when I saw the twins side by side out there is Jamie is looking appreciably bigger. His upper body, his shoulders are looking a lot broader. Did you guys pick up on that? Because for me, it almost seems like, well, he's gone away, he's gone to another county, and now all of a sudden, he's got down the gym, presumably on the advice of somebody, whether it's Daz Vaness or not, I don't know.
It's got to be Daz Vaness, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's got he's had the
Daz worked with him at Somerset as well. I just think he's just so much happier. He just seems really happy in his own skin. He could be a bit grumpy, would be a good word. Sometimes when he was with Somerset, there would always seem to be something going wrong for him. Whereas with Surrey, he plays with a smile on his face, and he's a much better cricketer. He's a better bowler, he's a better batter, he's just as good a fielder, and he's a better human being. I think both of the twins have matured. But I'd be very surprised if Jamie doesn't play for England before the end of this summer, with the pace that he showed, pace and accuracy as well. When he was bowling for Somerset, we had the pace, but at least one ball per over would go down the leg side and be nicked away for 4, and if he got pulled for 4, then he'd respond. The red mist would come down and he'd go for another 6 into the Hollies stand. And he's a much more mature bowler and a happier individual. And credit to Surrey for shaping him in that way. I think Surrey under Alex Stewart are a very, very happy, well motivated, well coached team. They've got Gareth Batty is chief coach. You've got Jim Troughton, who's a lovely bloke. It's a shame that Somerset let him go because they didn't ask him if he wanted to stay on, so he assumed they didn't want him. So yeah, and that's what he told me. He told me that himself. Really nice guy.
I believe it.
and he's settled in really well at Surrey. And I think there are all sorts of lessons that we can learn from this game. And Lachlan Stevens, the batting coach, said to me on Sunday evening, Surrey have shown us how to bat and how to bowl on this pitch, and that's absolutely right. But we do need to learn from our mistakes. But go back to it again, I thought the second innings with bat and ball was much more encouraging, and they do seem to be pulling themselves together. And it was a good gutsy and fantastic catch by Lewis Gregory, and equally fantastic catch from Tom Abel at second slip. And that was, he put down a terrible miss as well, which was very unlike Tom Abel. But
yeah, that was a dolly as slip catches go.
The thing is, I was flicking through the other scores, and I'm looking. Lancashire chased down 329 to win today at Edgbaston. Nobody got above 50 apart from Rob Jones lower down got 66 and Luke Wells 175 not out. And you look at Hampshire Don Bess had them on a bit of string at one stage and were really struggling. And Gubbins and Liam Dawson basically got them over didn't get them over the line, but got them close. And you think, okay, I want to take as many positives as possible, guys, but I could not see us winning either of those. If we'd have been in the situations of Hampshire and Lancashire, I don't think we'd have won those games. And I think we are leaving ourselves with too much to do. And, it is now, we're into the second half of June now. And people are going to say, I've got a sense of entitlement. I always get accused of it as a Somerset fan. You've got the sense of entitlement. No, I haven't. But I think I've lowered my bar to such a level that a couple of decent days against a good side, despite getting beaten and slipping virtually to the bottom of the table, is okay now, and it just isn't. We've got so many talented players. There is something fundamentally wrong at the heart of this at the moment, and it needs to be addressed.
Here endeth the lesson. I agree.
I don't know. I don't know. I think the other thing, we haven't had much luck. I know that's just, luck should balance out over the season, but it didn't really balance out much in the game against Surrey, losing two of our top bowlers to concussion injuries, and then Roelof and Merv being seen off
along with an LBW Casey Aldridge.
Yeah, exactly. And then Peter Siddle this morning when he got 42. I mean, people on Twitter were saying it wouldn't have hit a second set of stumps outside.
No, it was definitely the worst of the three.
We're not getting the rub of the green at the moment. We're not helping ourselves either. But I honestly don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with the setup at Taunton. We've still got lots of talented cricketers coming through, and they do genuinely seem a very happy bunch. Somerset, they get on well together. I think Lachlan Stevens needs to take a bit more of a grip on the batting, and I think after that first innings performance against Surrey, he may very well do that. And I thought, do
you think he's been sort of having a watching brief, and now he's?
I think so. I think
he's got enough evidence to.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's been biding his time, as any sensible manager stroke coach would do when they come into a new job with a team that they're not familiar with at all. Just wait and see, and then when you've identified what the issues are, then go in and correct them. And I think the second innings batting performance was a reflection of that. And he's a really nice guy, and he's a straight talker as well. He's not an Andy Hurry. If they haven't played well, he'll say they haven't played well. If they batted timidly, he'll say they batted timidly.
Well, that's what we need, and that's sort of what I'm alluding to, that I hope behind the dressing room doors that the 3-4 coaches, if you include Curbs, Urry, Kerr and Stevens,
Curbs is probably loving this. He's got the safest job in the West Country. Somerset's bowling coach. They're doing the business week after week.
But we know him as a player. I can't imagine he's backwards and going forwards with an opinion on much in the coaches' meetings or in the team meetings. And that's what I want to hear. I actually want, let's face facts now. We are going to be heading into September. We've got the next 3 are tough games. As you said, Southport is not going to be easy. Not going to be easy at all. Essex at Chelmsford, God, I hate county championship games at Chelmsford. And Yorkshire, who are, okay, they lost today, but they are a decent side. And they'll have someone in their side who wants to prove a point again. And then we head into September, and we've got to accept the reality that this is 2017, not 2018, 2019, 2016, and we are, we need a few crossbows and perhaps Angus Fraser getting unhappy with the pitch or something to.
That assumes that we're going to stay with the same structure for next season, which I think
but
is a brave assumption. I fully expect us to go to 3 conferences next season, but the sooner the ECB announce what the format is going to be, the fairer it will be on the counties. My fear is that they'll say we're going to go for 3 conferences in 2024, and the top 12 in 2023 will go into the 2 potentially championship winning conferences. Now, if we're relegated this season and we find ourselves in the 2nd division next season, and what happens in the 2nd division next season determines whether you're in with a chance of winning the county championship in 2024, that is the worst case scenario. Not that doesn't imply that I've got any lack of faith in Somerset's abilities, but you never know. We want to avoid that possible scenario at all costs, which means that we do need to get out of the relegation zone this season in the county championship, regardless of whether there's any sort of format change.
Yeah, so the current table where we are second from bottom with 61. The good news is the Gloucesters are still 20 points behind us on 41. Northants are 5 points ahead, but they have got a game in hand. And then we're
surely better than Northants, Gloucestershire and Kent, aren't we?
Well, I don't know.
We surely are.
We are on paper, but we don't seem to be on grass at the moment.
We haven't played Kent and Northants yet, have we? And we played Gloucester once and beat them, so I think we've got to wait and see. But also, we're not helped by only playing Kent and Northants once each.
Indeed.
Which is obviously due to the lopsided format. You play some teams once, some teams once, some teams twice, and the fact that who you play once and who you play twice is based on 2019, which is 3 years ago, and not based on last season when Kent were a lot worse.
I believe that's conspiracy theory number 7,843 that we're up to now.
And Dan's email number 2,919 is currently being composed.
Well, yeah, if we go on to that, your tweet that did the rounds on Sunday, Dan. Unless we've got anything more about the Surrey game, I'm just trying to think if there's anything.
No, let's move on.
Let's move on to another incredible, even more miserable topic. The fact that Sunday, the 12th of June, the final day of Championship cricket at Taunton for the 2022 season.
On a weekend.
On a weekend. Sorry, yes, the final weekend day of cricket for the 2022 season. What a load of old bollocks that is.
It's the way the schedule is these days. With, as we know, there's finals in September, which cause championship matches to be played on weekdays, and the 3 championship matches coming up are kind of they're in and around T20s, which are on Friday nights / Sundays, and finals days on a Saturday, and obviously then you've got the 100 starting. It's just the way that things slot in, unfortunately. And the 100, I mean, this has been a problem for a while. In 2019, there were not many weekend days of.
I don't think there were any championship cricket on a weekend. In
2019. Oh no, I'm talking about the whole season. 2019, there was not many weekend days of championship cricket, home or away, for Somerset. So this has been a problem since before the 100. But like with many things, the 100 makes the problem worse, and
that's
it makes
the title
it
of this week's podcast. Thank you very much, Dan.
if you got rid of the 100, you could more easily do a schedule which has more weekend days in all formats. You could have 50 over cricket in April and May, and you could use the bank holidays in late May, early May, and even the Easter weekend. because currently the 50 over tournament this year, it's a bit of a farce. Somerset have only got 2 weekend matches. There are 3 weekends. One of them we're not even playing on for some reason, despite the fact we're playing Sussex on the Friday before it. I'm not too sure why that's not on the Sunday. So the 50 over tournament could be improved, and then you just create a load of space for the championship in sort of June, July. In an ideal world, if you put the Blast in the holidays and the One Day Cup in April/May, you got June, July to have like 8 rounds in a row of county championship matches all on weekends. Sounds good to me.
I mean, it's the fact that the 100 final is on Saturday the 2nd of September that just seems to knock all the championship games in September into midweek.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect after that, isn't there?
Yeah, because the one after starts on Monday the 5th, and then the next one starts on Monday the 12th, then Tuesday the 20th, and then the final rounds are on Monday the 25th. You've also got the Royal London final on the 17th of September as well.
And the Harry Flint final is relevant as well. That I think they keep that away from anything else.
Would that affect men's cricket? They wouldn't.
I believe so. I think they give it.
They historically did that because the quarter final against Notts in the Blast a few years ago got moved around and delayed, and then it got rained out on the Sunday. And the reason it was on the Sunday, not like the others had gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, was because the Hey-Ho Flint final or whatever it was, it might have been a different competition then. Finals day for that was at Hove on the Saturday, and they didn't want a T20 quarter final to clash with that. So that has been a thing that they've tried to keep sacrosanct as well.
That would have been for broadcasting, though, wouldn't it? Because they I think the Kia Super League is the one you're talking about when they had the finals there at Hove, and then so if Sky are broadcasting that, they can't then broadcast a T20 as a T20 quarter final as well. But I would imagine that if they're televising it, I'm not sure they are, they would still televise it, and then the championship would go on merrily in the background, just on the live streams, etc., etc., etc. But yet again, the 100 has ruined it for everybody.
Well, yeah, partly. But as I said, it was a problem before the 100, so it's not the 100 that's caused it. The 100's just sort of made it harder to solve that kind of thing.
I mean, in years gone by, it was when T20 Finals Day was in September. And then you had to have that on a Saturday by itself, which then knocked on. That meant you could only have the championship game then on the Monday or the Tuesday, and then that just knocked on and knocked on and knocked on.
Yeah.
But I mean, they could quite easily have moved, or they could have just had a finals day. Have a finals day on the Friday. See how many people turn up to it then. Oh dear! Right, shall we talk about happier times? And the greatest player in the world, shoving it up the Gloucesters last whatever day it was. Thursday? Was it Thursday? I can't remember now. It seems like a lifetime ago, but in that rain-affected game up at Bristol, Somerset were absolutely dead and buried. They need about 80 off 5 overs or something like that with Josh Davey and Roelof van der Merwe together. And boy, did he come to the party, as Andy Flower used to say. 48 off 15 balls. Has there ever been a more glorious innings, apart from the one he played against Surrey back in the day?
No, it's a great knock. And they knocked off the last 57 runs from 21 balls. They being Roelof van der Merwe with some assistance from the other end. But I did say, I said when Ben Green was out, I think that's probably it. That's the end of Somerset hopes. But then I
said it in a much more depressed tone, Gibbo.
I did, but I also said,
rang about to get the belt and shoelaces off you.
There is hope.
Absolutely. Oh yes.
And that's how it.
Do you know what I thought the turning point was? And this is a weird thing, how things get in your mind. Josh Davies' first ball was a leg stump full toss half volley. It was hard to tell from the stream, and he clipped it absolutely beautifully through mid wicket for 4, and it split 2 fielders. And that almost, I felt, supercharged me. And I wonder if it had that Roelof was like, "Oh, come on, you get that sometimes when you're batting, and the guy at the other end does something like that." But it was just the ease with, we all say Josh Davey can bat properly. And it was a proper, and Anthony was talking on the stream today about, Viv Richards and I'm glad Viv didn't play T20 cricket. But that's the sort of shot Viv would have played in T20 cricket, and that's really high praise coming from me. It was just the most beautiful shot, and that was the start of it. But I think the other thing was, Gloucester's fielders just seemed to, I don't say fall apart, but there was almost, once Roelof got into it, there was almost an inevitability about it, which is bonkers, really. It's just that's what he does, isn't it? He seems to, when he takes hold of a game like that, like the Surrey game you mentioned, Ian, he has this force of personality that it just affects everyone. Spectators, partner, bowlers, fielders from the other side. It's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
I believe the technical term for it is Roelof van der Merwe doing Roelof van der Merwe things. Yeah.
Well, I paid him the greatest tribute possible because we got a new barbecue last week, and much to my delight, it's got Wi-Fi and it has an app. And when I set it up on Friday afternoon, you had to give it a nickname. So you'll be delighted to know, Ian, that our barbecue is now called Roelof.
Why does a barbecue need an app?
Well, because
so it can go wrong, Anthony. So there's one more thing
I did the roll-on, roll-off this afternoon.
No, it's more of an outdoor grill and oven than a barbecue, and you can cook things overnight on it and all kinds of things.
You've got a Kamado. You've got a Kamado, haven't you?
It's a Traeger.
Oh right, I've got a Kamado. It's wonderful. Absolutely, I cooked Christmas dinner on it.
Well, that's the plan up here. But the best thing is, Ian, you're cooking and your phone pings and it says Roelof has now reached optimum temperature. Or Roelof is in startup cycle. It's just absolute heaven. So
sorry, Dan.
Roelof has been given out LBW.
Sorry, Dan. We've got a new title for the podcast. Roelof
is available and wants to come and officially open the barbecue at Somerset North Towers.
Well,
he's more than welcome.
He's got to officially come and open his pavilion first. So I'm Bagsy and him. Brian Rose still hasn't come and done his bar. Speaking of Brian Rose, his outgoing president, we had the presence of President-elect, didn't we, Dan? On Sunday, Pete Wanley came down and said hello. Good to catch up, Pete. I'm sure you're listening. So yeah, please do vote for Pete on on your membership ballots, which have got to be in a week or so's time.
Are they having a vote on it?
I think it's more of a confirmation vote.
Well, I was going to say, how vulgar. I mean, presidents used to be anointed.
Anointed?
Yeah. It was all done behind closed doors, and the committee and the chairman and whoever decided he was going to be chairman, and that was that. And so it should be with Peter Wanless. He should be president. And end of it.
Do we have to? I forgot. I just clicked yes.
There was a coup against Brian Rose the first time Brian was invited to come to the AGM in order to be elected as president with a sort of formality, and an unnamed person stood against him, and Brian wasn't elected, and Brian Rose was very, very badly hurt by that. Having been invited to come along and be elected president, and he wasn't. And it was with him the second time around to take it up.
How long ago was this?
So, it was the time before Brian Rose was elected president, so it was about 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I'm not naming names, but
I'm trying to think of the when they talk about it in Rosie, don't you? Where they get
wasn't Roy Kerslake, I'll tell you that.
There's an EGM in a barn somewhere. I'm gonna have to read it again. This is all to do with the Roebuck.
It used to be at the Shepton Mallet Showground, didn't it?
That's what I'm thinking of.
That was the EGM. But that's years and years and years ago. That was the mid-80s. 1986.
Can I just say, to finish off on the barbecue, Chris Lintott of this parish and I were exchanging tweets, and I said to him, I suggested that my barbecue's probably got more computing power than the Apollo moonshots, and so I think he was even Chris was significantly impressed with that. So
yeah, I think we all are.
There's a brilliant Twitter account you can follow. I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically all about these Wi-Fi enabled home devices like fridges and washing, just screenshots of them going wrong. Things that in the old days, I'm bloody 42, I'm showing my age now, that you would just press a button and they turn on and they're just pictures of them going, this requires an update. Downloading update, blah, blah, blah. You're like, you're a fucking kettle. Just turn on. I'll dig that one out and retweet it if you do want to
Send it
that
to me, yeah.
fun. What else? Right, Ken, I've completely forgotten what happened in the Kent game. I can remember Jack Leaning stepping on the rope and being a bit grumpy about it, and that's pretty much it. Can anyone else enlighten me? Because I've totally forgotten.
I have missed 2 T20 games live this year, Sussex and Kent, for family commitments or other reasons. So I think that Ben Warren and Spencer need to make sure that my domestic get in touch and make sure my domestic arrangements don't clash with the remaining games, because that's obviously the reason we've lost 2 games.
I think you'll find that
Game was lost in 2 overs. Game was lost in 2 overs. 18th and 19th.
Oh yes, I've forgotten. Yeah, we got
Davey and Ben Green, which went for 48.
Yeah, we got off the round at the end, didn't we?
If we'd been chasing 180, it would have been a cakewalk. But over 200, the pressure on the batsmen is such that they feel they have to go hard right from the outset, and the outcome was inevitable.
Well,
we still haven't got our death bowling sorted out. Josh Davey is not a death bowler.
No.
Lined up by the batsman, it should be Lewis Gregory who does that, as he did against Gloucestershire and Bristol last year, when he was absolutely brilliant at the death. He's got the experience, he's got the skill, he's got the guts, the sheer guts to do it, and he should be employed to do it. Maybe alongside Marshall DeLanger, who can be a fantastic death bowler on his day. But you don't want Josh Davey and Ben Green bowling the 18th and 19th over. It was the game was lost there and then. 2 overs gone.
Well, thinking about that, the Glamorgan game, what were we 170 for 2 or 3, was it? After about 14 overs, chased that down. And we started off nice and calm, nice and easy. We're only chasing 170, and then all of a sudden, bang, Will Smead goes bananas, the momentum builds, and we ended up with 6 overs to go. We could have got 220, 230.
Well, that's the difference between chasing 170 and chasing over 200.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why haven't they taken the learnings from that?
No.
To say,
psychology,
it's not a bad enough day as it is.
But why aren't they going, look, this is Taunton. It's tiny, okay? Just knock it round, play a natural game for the first 10 overs. If we've got wickets in hand, you can chase 12 and over for the last 10, potentially.
Can, but you're up against psychology, though. You know, when you know you've got to go at 10 and over right from the start, and you start falling behind, and you see the thing on the scoreboard going up to 11, 12, 13, 14. Doesn't matter how many wickets you've got in hand. You know you've got to go hard. Whereas if it's 170 or 180, you know that one boundary and over, and some good running between the wickets, will keep you up with the rate. And then for the last 5 overs, when you've got to go at 13 runs and over, no problem if you've got wickets in hand. But to go, if you let it get up to above 10 right from the start, the scoreboard pressure is immense.
Just Ian, to someone of my age and generation, T20 is still a game which. This concept of what Anthony's just said, if you need 13 and over for the last 5 overs, because my go-to was the John Player League. That was a Sunday league, and you'd go along, and 200 in 40 overs at Taunton was a really good score back in those days. But then what would happen is you'd start off, and my dad had this, he loved filling in, used to have boxes at the bottom of the scorecard and fill in the score at the end of the over, so he was constantly looking at knots were 5 ahead of us after the next over. We need a really big over. But then Viv or both of them or whoever would take 7, 8, 9 off and over, and you were suddenly back in the game. And the psychology is so different now, because as Anthony says, you have an over where you only score 7, heaven forbid, and you've dropped 3 or 4 behind the asking rate. You have a couple of overs like that, and the rate is up to 12.5. And I think because of the mindset of Bantons and Smeads and Russos, which we've seen work brilliantly, it's the flip side of this. They suddenly go, right, I'm going to have a big over this over. And you've got to allow the fact that the opposition bowlers actually bowl quite well. This sticks in my throat dreadfully, but from what I've heard and watched back, etc., the Kent bowlers actually bowled quite well, as did Sussex the previous week. And, Glamorgan's bowlers, let's be honest, didn't bowl particularly well. They did sort of feed Smead and Rousseau quite regularly. Praise the Lord for Dan Douthwaite in that game and that sort of thing. But it's a completely different mindset. And I think the players... It's such a huge difference. There's 170 to 190 to 200. That it's just bizarre. And I think in 5-6 years' time, you'll see that 230 might be the norm at Taunton. And we'll be saying, we only had to chase 200 today. That was fine. That was a walk in the park. I think that's the way it's going. But
I hope not. Though. I really hope not, because the essence of cricket is a battle between bat and ball. And if a batting side is going to get over 230, it means that the bowlers are being played out of the game, and that's not.
I agree. And you go back to the baseball analogy, if they're almost like pitching for batting practice for the batsmen to just hit it out the ground all the time.
It was just
So our next T20 game is Friday night against the Gloucesters.
No Overton or Davey,
who are on concussion protocol. I think that's 7 days, isn't it? So they'll be out.
Jason Kerr Sunday. Jason Kerr confirmed to me that they won't be available for Friday, but they should be for Sunday.
Friday, so Sunday.
Yeah, because it's the 7th day Saturday under the protocol.
Yeah, that's right.
So Friday and then Sunday, which is down at the Cloud FM County Ground.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to that.
I'll be there as well.
You'll be there, Dan.
You've got some
You've
got some lovely trips coming up, haven't you? Because then you've got to battle your way to the Oval in the way.
We'll drive all the way to Blooming Oval, yeah.
How old is he?
7 o'clock start.
You'll have good company in Mark Church. Is that you and Don Topley down at Essex?
No, it's me and Mark Davis, because Radio Essex like to do their own thing. They don't want any objectivity or alternative view entry into their.
Half an hour ago, you were saying that the BBC is all about impartiality.
Well, so it should be. I much prefer doing shared commentary.
Well, of course you do. I mean,
as today with Mark Church, and as it will be on Tuesday at the Oval with Mark Church.
As hard as you
Radio
can
Essex, they like to do their own thing.
As hard as you can try and as well as you can prepare, you're never going to have as much knowledge about Essex players and form and that sort of thing as the Essex commentators. So, see, Don Topley was moaning on Twitter about our live stream today.
Oh, was he?
Oh, yeah. It's too biased. It's this, it's that. I just replied and told him
Don Topley was saying that. He worryingly pays far too much attention to all things Somerset. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, he's very keen. Look, he's very keen. We really ought to invite him to take part. He really wants to be invited. Yeah, seriously. He really wants to be invited to take part in this podcast.
Why?
And you could give him... Well,
because go, ha, 2019, ha, 2020.
No, he's not.
We reported you for the pitch.
No, I think he genuinely wants to, just join in and have a bit of fun. He's all right, is Tom.
Once he's a confirmed Somerset paid-up member, we're glad to have him on.
Just have him on for a guest appearance for 10 minutes or something like that.
Oh,
it would be a lot of fun.
I'd rather have Jacob.
You can wind him up as much as right.
Anyway, his tweet was...
I've got to say that I've got a list of other counties commentators, with all due respect to Mr. Topley, who I would love to have on here with us for guest appearances. And let's just say Mr. Topley's probably in the relegation zone as far as I'm concerned, because Kevin James, Mark Church, Jonathan Doidge would all, I think, be absolutely brilliant. Dave Bracegirdle would be fun because he doesn't like us, and whenever I say something on Twitter, it needles him. But I love his commentary; is just fabulous as well. But I think Don. I think what we'll do is we'll get Don to go to one of Anthony's barbecues in the evening, and then we'll get him on then. That would be the thing to do.
So just for
and if Roelof comes to Chris and my barbecue, he can come on the podcast that evening.
Oh, absolutely. So Don's tweet was, after England's terrific win, looking through the streams today, aware that the comms are heavily biased towards the home team as its home production, but please commentators have less gushing towards home counties. Reckon as many away fans watching, please, at Somerset CCC, at Surrey Cricket.
The answer to that is to use the BBC commentary. Sync the BBC commentary with the pictures from the live stream, and then you get balanced commentary.
Absolutely,
and much better commentary as well.
And you can listen to what's going on and jump into the live stream if there's something you need to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So, Anthony, can you talk to us about Battleground?
Battlefield,
sorry.
Battlefield. Hang on.
For those of you,
I thought we'd each have a bottle for tasting on the show.
No, I'm looking forward to it. Oh, God, right.
Here it is.
Right, you remember what happened the last time one of us opened a bottle of cider on this podcast?
It didn't go well, did it?
No.
I'll open this one. This is my bronze award-winning cider from the British Cider Championships.
Flawless.
At the Royal Bath and West Show. Well, it's not a sparkling cider. It's a still cider.
It's very good. Looks
nice colour, nice, and it's quite strong. But it got a bronze because the expert judge Bob Chaplin said that the tannins in it were overpowering. It was too cidery. It was too
cidery.
Too cidery.
Right. It's uber cider. Super cider.
I think it's quite nice anyway.
So what's it, a medium dry type?
Not commercially available, but we ought to have a sort of get together at some stage for the Always Look on the Bright Side of Life podcast get together, and I'll bring some down for that.
I mean, I surely thought that you would have bought some up for me on Sunday, Anthony, but I was sorely disappointed. Do apologise.
Well, you should be sharing that delightful stuff you had when you were on holiday earlier in the year as well. I thought you should have brought some of that back.
The Spanish stuff. I wouldn't. Well, I'll bring some when we have a get together. I'll give some to Don. What else was I going to say? Oh, did Kevin Howells get? Kevin Howells was up on the Thatcher's deck on Sunday morning. He wasn't happy about something. He was trying to plug something in with Spencer.
Oh, it was at 3 o'clock. He was up at 3 o'clock. He had a bad day.
He was. Yeah. Spencer was up there with him. Sarah Trunks was up there as well. They were trying to plug some little box in or something.
Sarah Trunks sorted it out in the end, but it took several hours. We only had one ISDN line, and he needed to coordinate 5 Live's coverage of all the county championship matches into TMS. But it was all done in the end. It was all good for Sarah and Spencer. Spencer fixed our television this morning as well, which also wasn't working, and he and Sarah put in a great shift there too. So I've got no complaints about that.
Good stuff.
Commentary position, don't get me started.
Can I just ask something? I noticed, and with great amusement, that Mark Church is such a good value, because you could spend a day at the cricket with Mark, and even if it was Surrey Somerset, you'd have a great day, because he loves cricket. But he gave Anthony the call sign Quantox because of their Top Gun sunglasses. So I've just been sitting here trying to imagine what the call signs of the others on this podcast are. I think. Oh, there we go. Look, there we go. I can almost hear the bell.
Oh,
and the
yeah,
music
he was talking about going in town and buying his aviators, wasn't he?
He went into town one lunchtime and got his aviator sunglasses, but then he tweeted about it with the picture of him and Anthony wearing them, and then didn't use Anthony's call sign of Quantox, which I was grossly upset with. So, what should we call Dan? I think Dan Stato's too obvious. It's got to be something like numbers,
database or something like that.
Yeah.
Spreadsheet.
No. Let's go for the other side of Dan. What about the campaigning side of Dan? The
activist.
No, there's a level above activist. Vigilante. Somewhere between activist and vigilante.
No, vigilante's good. That's got a real. You can imagine him being a Top Gun, can't you? Vigilante. Yeah,
definitely.
You'd be like Iceman, Dan. You'd be cold and calculating and strike at the crucial moment.
Dear Mr. Hollins.
I'm told that anyone were you Dan or you Ian? Were you at the members get together Q&A with?
No, that was Monday night.
Gordon Hollins on Monday night.
Oh, we've had some.
I gather it was a bit heated.
I did pop out on Twitter. Do forgive me, whoever replied. I didn't thank you for your correspondence. Let me scroll down.
Yes, Twitter appears to have gone bonkers this evening.
Oh, yeah, here we are. Andy Cleve replied, nothing of note other than the usual items being brought up. Neither Hurry or Kerr in attendance, which was disappointing as couldn't ask any questions around cricketing matters and performance. I raised with GH asking if Hurry or Kerr could attend future sessions. Good luck with that, Andy. Mentioned that this was the last weekend day of Championship cricket, which he is no doubt aware of. And Tim replied, not really, although I had to leave early to catch a train. Lots of complaints about behaviour, including reports of members being rude to staff. And food, nothing that I heard about team performance. So,
no, it wasn't to do with team performance. It was all about members feeling that they're not being prioritised sufficiently, and that the commercial department is running things at the county ground, and the sort of club side of things is coming second to the business side of things, which is, from what I can pick up from talking to members around the ground, is very much the general mood at Taunton at the moment. And I do think it's something that Gordon Hollins needs to address. The members are feeling unloved at Somerset at the moment. And the other big issue, of course, is crowd behaviour. Goodness knows what it's going to be like on Friday evening when Gloucestershire are down there. And the stewards do their best, but they're trying to be unobtrusive in dealing with troublemakers. But the trouble with that is that a lot of troublemakers, or people who are swearing and drinking and generally misbehaving, aren't being dealt with at all. And in the Somerset stand in particular, I know from people who've talked to me or tweeted me, it can be very, very unpleasant towards the end of a Friday night T20 game at Taunton. That's not the sort of behaviour we want to see at cricket matches.
Well, me and Dan behaved ourselves impeccably on Sunday.
I'm sure you
in
did.
the presence of our president-elect, but I just wonder if it's a quarter of an hour before the game finishes, if you're a steward, are you really going to cause a scene, or are you just going to wait and you kick them out in 10 minutes anyway? It's a difficult one.
I think it's the language as much as anything. If you're there with your family, you don't want people effing and blinding and all the rest of it. It's just thoroughly unpleasant. There's nothing wrong with enthusiasm and excitement and supporting your team and all the rest of it, but just have a bit of thought for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Players, people standing up and swearing at players and that sort of thing is absolutely disgraceful. There's one particular person I'm aiming this at who'll remember it, what he did in the Notts game back in 2000 and whatever it was, to Luke Fletcher. If he's listening, he knows what he's talking about. And it's not me, by the way. It's one of my friends who was slightly inebriated and decided to have a little go at Mr. Fletcher, which I'm sure would upset the aforementioned Dave Bracegirdle immensely. Right, what are we? I think we talked about. Well, I mean, the most important item on the agenda, Anthony's award-winning cider, which does not explode. Non-exploding cider is always going to be a bonus for me if I'm on the judging panel of what was it, Bath and West show. Anthony's frozen in this. Anthony's frozen in this lovely pose of him toasting with his chalice of cider. Oh, right. Shall we do listeners' questions? This is an absolute. It's going to be an absolute minefield of trying to get through these tonight, with all the ways that people have been replying to each other and back and forth. So let's start with. Well, if we start at the beginning, that's probably easiest. First question then from Tim Knight. As England have won 2 tests on the bounce, the ECB no longer have an excuse to meddle with the county championship, further reducing the number of red ball games. Discuss. Yes, no need to franchise it anymore. England have won 2 tests in a row.
I think it's a bit more complicated.
Yeah. Too small a sample size, I think, as well.
Oh yes, definitely.
They're very encouraging. We've played really well in these tests, haven't we?
I think that's got more to do with Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes than the county cricket. In all honesty.
What is interesting, though, was that when Stokes played against Worcester in the Championship a few weeks back, and absolutely mullered them, didn't he? It was just berserk on, I think it was the Friday morning from memory. And people piled in and were like, oh, this shows how, certain person who used to play for England was another argument for franchise cricket because it shows how poor the standard is and whatever. But yet, Stokes and Bairstow did that to a very good New Zealand attack, who were one bowler down, I admit. So that goes out the window. But we were talking earlier about being stuck between this uber defensive, supine, passive mode and this all-out attacking mode for our batters. And let's be honest, Bairstow and Stokes could have both gone very early. I didn't watch it, Anthony. I was listening to you, but I watched the highlights afterwards. And it's a very, very fine line, and they could have easily been all out for under 100 playing that way. And it's great, and it is entertainment, and I love it.
Exactly.
I don't want to stop it happening.
It's entertainment, and cricket it's not an end in itself. It exists in order to provide enjoyment for the people who watch it as well as those who play it. And I thought that was, it's wonderful to see positive cricket being played. And I thought Somerset did that in the second innings against Surrey. They were going out. And Steve, you remember the golden age of Somerset cricket back in the 1980s. Vivian Richards and Ian Botham, they weren't leaving balls outside the off stump. They were smashing them through the covers or lifting them over the top of mid-wicket.
I was going to say, Viv was whipping them through square leg all the time. Yeah,
exactly. And we need to see some more attacking cricket from Somerset. Not going mad, but just players doing what they do naturally, and they're mostly attacking players. And let's give them their head. And I hope that Latin Stevens does so.
I look forward to our next podcast where we absolutely tear the shreds off them for playing too many attacking shots and getting out.
No, I would never do that.
It's a fine line. It was great watching Johnny Bairstow yesterday, smashing the Kiwis everywhere. But there is still a better than even chance that he'll be out for 16 off 11 balls, bowled through the gate, having a massive drive at Tim Southey on a green top at Headingley.
Yeah.
But anyway, couple of questions about young KC. What sort of ceiling does he have? Writes the sceptical cricketer. Not been too impressed thus far, but seems highly rated over the backing in the 2s to the T20s. Martin Paul adds, how quick is KC and does he have the capacity to add a yard or two as he gets older? So is he 20? 19, 20?
21, I think.
21 now. He's 2 years out of under 19s now.
Yeah. Bristol boy, yeah. I think, he's like a willow wand at the moment, and he surely has the potential to bowl faster as he fills out, and he's got really nice action, and he's got a good attitude as well. So yes,
he is.
Funnily enough, I tipped him last season as my Somerset newcomer, and he didn't really do anything last season, but this season he's. I think he's growing into.
Played with injuries last season, which Sonny Baker, Ned Leonard, they've all had the same, but he's in that cohort. Let's not forget Ned and Sonny either.
Old Ned Leonard.
I think he is the genuine all-rounder that Lewis Gregory is. That I can see a world in a couple of years' time where you would pick Casey as a batter or a bowler, which is the true test of an all-rounder. He's assumed a lot of responsibility in the 2s this year. He's opened in championship games, and he seems to have been bringing on the youngsters from what I've heard and what Mike Unwin's been saying when he's been at some of those games. So I think he's got a very good head on his shoulder. I think it's just a case of let's not, he should be bowling the last over on Friday night. He should be in the side all the time. Let's let Curbs develop him as he needs to. For me, the key for him is the Royal London. He needs to play every game, fitness permitting, in the Royal London, and let's see how he is at the end of that competition.
He's going to be signed. He's going to have one good blast game and then be signed as a wild card for the bloody.
I don't think they'll pick him in the blast. I don't.
Well, Sonny Baker
I don't
did.
think they'll pick him in the blast.
Sonny Baker was picked off an entire Royal London one day.
Oh, the Royal London, yeah, but you could just see it happening.
In the past.
You could see it happening though. He has a couple of good Royal London one-day games. Somebody loses a bowler. It's what happened to Sonny. Let's be honest about it, isn't it? It could quite easily happen.
It could.
There are lots of other bowlers around though. I don't know.
I know, but the ECB conspiracy theory. What are we up to now? 7,844. Ruin Casey Aldridge by having him sit on his backside in the 100. Stuart Hodgkiss, what are you hearing about Gregory's fitness at the Sussex game the other week? Seems most of the innings off the field. Seems underused again in this game. Also, great to see Sonny on the field today. Is he back to fitness and ready to play in the Royal London?
See my interview with him on the Somerset website. I asked him that question. He says he's 100% fit.
Absolutely. And
so why isn't he bowling at the death in T20? I can't get my head around it.
And also, as well today, I thought he should have bowled more when that game was coming to a conclusion today. You know, Casey Aldridge is still only 21. It's still only his third championship game. It's the first game in which he's taken a bloody wicket, for goodness sakes.
No, Casey was taking wickets. He was bowling really, really well. And Lewis, he bowls that fuller length to get it to swing, which does mean that he gets carved away through the offside quite often. I wasn't worried about. I was worried when he didn't bowl. He only bowled 2 overs against Kent, I think, wasn't it? And he should really have bowled at the death against Kent. But I think that was down to Tom Abler. I genuinely don't think he's got any real fitness issues. His back seems all right.
Maybe it's just me looking for crumbs of things that could have changed it. I don't know.
And when he has been bowling, he's lost a little bit of pace, but not much, and he's still a very artful fast medium pace bowler who moves the ball in the air and off the pitch. His time will come, Lewis. He hasn't had much luck this season, but he's going to take a 5 for sooner rather than later, I think.
Oh, nobody's had any luck this year. Robert Blackwell, do you think Craig and Josh will be word up for Friday? We know they are. He will play Casey in the T20s. I think there's probably a couple ahead of him, but have we pulled Jack Brooks back from that loan now?
Not that I know of.
Yes, and but we've got Brooks available for the T20s going forward.
It's only a championship loan, isn't it?
It's just so there's a championship round coming up which Brooks will play in, but we're not playing in that round anyway, so he won't miss anything else for us.
Yeah, because we don't play the next round of games that starts on the 26th.
11th of July. The 11th of July is our next championship game.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, we miss out.
Yeah, it's our turn to have a rest this week. David Wyatt is worried about relegation, as are we all. I think we've covered that.
Well, we've discussed that. We don't know there's going to be relegation, but just in case they base the new system on what happens next year rather than this year, we need to stay in the first division.
And there's a notification here from Lee Hooper that just says, like Byram. Dan, how did you feel? Eddie Byram, career best. Was it career best this week? 176?
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen any of it. I've just
come on, of course you. That's why you were watching Somerset.
No, I'm not as much of an Eddie Byram fan as you make out.
Well, yeah, that's what the world's biggest Eddie Byram fan would say.
But yeah, no, I mean, great to see. I know he had a good relationship with Matt Maynard at Somerset, and that's obviously why that's partly why he's gone to Glamorgan, I think. And he's obviously kicked on a bit so far. I mean, you've got to remember it's in Division 2 against the Sussex attack, which is not one of the best in the country. So, he's this will be great for him, a real breakthrough. But we can't.
I wish I'd made 176 for a county in the second division once in my career. That would have been quite good, I tell you.
Yeah, it would have been nice. But just as a general point, it's just another one that we've kind of spent 3 or 4 years.
No. He had loads of chances.
But that's the point I'm making. It's one we spent.
He's a lovely lad, and I'm absolutely delighted that he's getting, he's doing well at Glamorgan. But he was not a Division 1 county championship opening batsman, and he proved that on any number of occasions. What was his high score before the Bob Willis final at Lords when he got 100? 45, I think it was.
There's more than that. He had a 60. He had a 60 and a 50, I think. I think he had a 60 on the 50.
It's universally true. It's universally true that players always get better when they leave your club and go somewhere else, whoever they are, whatever sport it's in. So good luck to the guy. It's like Absolutely. I was delighted that Don Best looked like he was going to bowl Yorkshire to a win today, and I'm actually pleased for Jamie Overton because I'd love nothing more than to see him play for England this season. And when Anthony said, Josh Butler, if Josh Butler ever comes back to Somerset, that'll be one of the happiest days of my life. And I think that's the thing. You've got to, you covet other counties' good players, of course you do, but you've got to accept that players will move on, and if it furthers their career and betters them, they've got such a short career at this highest level, good luck to them, And the same for Eddie. I hope he goes and makes 176 every week, as long as it's not against us.
Well, I hope we don't end up playing Morgan.
Exactly. That's what I was meaning.
I thought precisely, yeah.
Sam Beckley, does Abel need to give up captaincy to have any chance of fulfilling his batting potential and playing for England? No, he just needs to score more hundreds. Andy Cleve wants us to sign Ricardo Vasconcelos.
No.
Yeah, we're one of the favourites to sign him. Well, we're the favourites to sign him, apparently, according to Matt Roelof on Quick Info. And actually, I had a look at his record. So in first-class cricket, he's averaging 35 this season. He averaged 37 last season.
35?
I would take that. That's
Batsman
great.
can average 35 in championship cricket.
He's played most of his cricket in the second division, and he's a second division cricketer.
He's young though. He's meant to be talented. He's what? 20?
I've seen him a few times. He hasn't.
We'll get hold of him and whip him into shape like we do with all these other batsmen. Gibbo, don't you worry about that.
Well,
he's averaging 35. We'll have him averaging 17 and a half. Just give us a couple of seasons.
Unless there's a really outstanding player to be brought in, a solid top order batsman. Let's just have our faith in our own youngsters coming through the system.
Speaking of which, I had so Ollie Slack DM'd me a slightly longer question, which I can read out. It's on that sort of subject. So he says, thoughts on our domestic recruitment over recent years. I think our last domestic signing was Davis in 2017, and both he and Hildreth, our two most experienced batters, are struggling. We could throw Rew or Smead into the 11, but we've already got a young team. It looks as if the younger players need more experience around them and a calming influence out in the middle to guide them through tricky patches to avoid losing wickets in clusters. Experienced players like Northeastern Gubbins have moved about a bit over recent years, and they seem just the type of player we need.
Was this our last domestic signing?
Stephen Davis.
Well, Jack Brooks was 2018.
Jack Brooks is more recent than Stephen Davis. Yeah,
he is. He might mean last domestic batter, I suppose. I think Davis might be the last batter.
Dan, that's what I was saying earlier about Lewis Goldsworthy. If you bring him into the side at 5 with Hildreth and Davis either side in form, that's a completely different thing. But I think Anthony and Ian's point, we are at that point now where, personally, much as I love Steve Davis, I wouldn't bat an eyelid if James Drew's given a run in the side. Casey Aldridge, provided he's properly managed. We're at a point now where we're showing some fight, but maybe we give these youngsters a chance, because if we do actually have a good second half of the season, which is not beyond the realms of possibility, it could be the making of several of these players. And, it's above open, no hope at the moment.
Right, I'm going to love you and leave you, I think. Is that all right?
What, Anthony, you've only talked about cricket for about 14 hours today. Come on.
If he had a barbecue that he could fire up,
go and have a rest. Have a well-deserved rest, Gibbo.
Yeah.
You've done your counter.
See you next week. Cheers.
Cheers, Gibbo. God, poor Anthony, 4 days on the trot, and then he's got to deal with us Muppets. Right.
He must enjoy it because he keeps coming on after 14 days in 14 hours in the commentary box with Mark shirts. So.
Oh, yeah, bless him. We love you, Gibbo. Right, Andy Zhang, in our remaining fixtures, how often do you think Hildreth will be selected?
Well, I think the answer to that, Andy, is did he genuinely feel unwell on Sunday? So it's not really an answer, it's another question. I sound like a bloody politician now, but
I don't know.
That to me was an interesting development, let's say.
And for me, Goldsworthy keeps his place now. He's earned it. He's earned another go. The question is, probably Banton would be the most likely to drop out for Hildreth to come back in now, or maybe we give the gloves to Banton and Davis drops out, which I think is probably unlikely. But I would keep Banton in personally.
Yeah, I would, because Anthony said he thought on yesterday it's the best he'd seen him bat, and he looked organised. I think it would be a really bad thing psychologically to do to Banton that, he's got bags of talent, he's developing, and I think he will be a very good red ball player in the fullness of time. Just
needs to look less twitchy for me. He just he's very fidgety at the crease. He doesn't look like a man with a lot of serenity about him. He just seems to be constantly hopping, fidgeting.
Derek Randall made a career out of that.
Yeah,
that's just the nature of the players. And Rory Burns in the 10 seconds until the bowler releases the ball looks like someone you'd see bowl out on the village game. You think, I'll get this bloke out, and then it all comes together, and he looks, really good.
He kind of doesn't. He doesn't sort of play the shot and kind of just gracefully and relax, hold the pose. He kind of just plays it, and then he's fidgeting and he's poking the bat everywhere, and then he's walking around.
Yeah.
Just beta blockers. Just calm it down.
I think the big call to answer Andy's question is, if James Rew does get the opportunity, you've got to then give James Rew a run in the side. And whilst I have been critical of and worry about what's going on in the dressing room, I think the one good thing is, the players that have been brought in this season have been given a run. Lamon B, he's brought in, but he's clearly been told you're going to open the batting this season, just get on with it. Banton's clearly being told number 4 spot yours, get on with it, and I like that. And I hope, as Dan said, that Goldsworthy's told, right, number 5 is yours now. Mm-hmm. What worries me is if you have a 4, 5, 6 of Banton, Goldsworthy and Rew, that's no detriment to their individual abilities, but that is a huge baptism of fire with Lewis Gregory coming in at 7.
You could put Lewis up a couple of spots so he bats in between them. He's good enough to.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Or even Josh Davey, who I was very impressed with when I was commentating on the live stream on whatever day it was, Sunday. Yeah, I thought he batted really well Sunday. Till he got sconed by Jamie. He looked organised. He looked compact. He didn't really do anything stupid. Played a lovely couple of flicks off his legs. So yeah, get Josh up the order as well. As you say, what have you got to lose?
I think the summary of it all is we need the potential to turn into results now. I doubt if there is a county in the country that has got a better pool of young talent in that 18 to 22 age range coming through. But when you are up against Dan Worrell and Luke Fletcher and Steve Mullaney and whoever, those players who have got bags of cricketing savvy, it's a very steep learning curve, and that's where Hildreth has got that and Davis has got that. But if time comes that you're at the end of a career and there's one thing none of us can defeat is time, what can we do about it? Your hand is sort of forced.
It certainly is. I'm sure there's a few more questions in there, but with all the replies in that, it's going to be like finding a needle in a haystack, trying to dig those out. Andy Cleaver just put the last one in. His team here for the West Country side of Derby is Smee, Banton, Russo, Abel, Lammonby, Gregory, Van der Merwe, Green, Aldridge, Siddle and Brooks. There we go. So we'll see if that matches up with what Messrs Kerr and Hurry determine on Friday night. We got a game before that, haven't we?
No. Tomorrow's Thursday.
Tomorrow's Thursday. Oh, I'm getting totally confused now. Just so much cricket, so much work, the test match, all this going on. It's mad. Yeah. No cricket tomorrow, and then the side of Derby on Friday. Best of luck to Tom Abel and the boys. I'm sure Anthony Gibson is having a very well-earned lie down at the minute, possibly with a glass of his...
Got the rest of that bottle of his prize-winning...
Yeah, you can't leave proper cider open for too long. It'll go off, so I'm sure he's probably halfway through that now. Any other business, guys?
No, not from me, thank you.
Good stuff. Right, well, I probably won't see you at a weekend game of Championship cricket now till April 2023, but still planning to make the trip to Southport for maybe a day or two if work allows. I'm sure you both are as well.
Day one, I will be
away.
You're away.
Like I said to you, we've planned it really badly. Yeah, I'm away. It's just the most dreadful organisation, I tell you, but never mind.
It's almost like the fixture list came out far too late for you to plan your holiday.
It certainly did, yeah.
I think that's ECB conspiracy theory number 7,852. Cock up Steve's holidays. Right. All
right, guys.
It's been we'll work out when we catch up with you next. I'll send you an email, let you know when we'll be catching up next. But for
right. Good to have you back, Dan.
Yep. Cheers.
Yeah, nice to see you again, Dan. And we'll catch up with you all next time. Ta-ra.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Cheers, guys.